Good morning, Carolina Village. My name is Aline, and you have found yourself in a session of the Village Vitality series. For today's session, we'll be focusing on side-to-side movements. Just a brief little anatomy lesson, I promise. It'll be very short. The reason why I chose this topic today is because as we age, we tend to limit our movement to a single plane. There are three main planes of movement that we should try to work our bodies through every single day, multiple times a day. So the plane that we tend to limit to as we age is the sagittal plane, which is our flexion and extension movements, front and back movements. So bending forward, bending back, walking, picking our legs up, putting our legs back behind us. Those are all in this plane of motion. Now, the plane that we'll be working mostly on today, of course, we're going to have movements in the sagittal plane as well, is the frontal plane. And these are our side-to-side movements, our adduction and our abduction. And then our third plane of movement is the transverse plane, which are our rotational movements. So thinking of spinal rotation, thinking of rotation at the joints themselves. And so the most fallen by the wayside plane is, I think, this frontal plane. Then it's our transverse plane. And everyone, you pretty much to function, you have to move in the sagittal plane, which is this forward and back plane. So the reason why this is important, these movements, is because these muscles on the outsides and insides of the body, okay, so all of these, when they become weaker because we don't use them, we have a higher tendency to trip, to fall, to stumble, and to not be able to move well on uneven surfaces. So think anything that's not paved or totally flat, or even transitioning from carpet to hardwood floor, you name it. These types of movements help with that. So let's get started. In terms of your setup, you can see how we have it. Hopefully, as I've been teaching you about the planes of movement, you've been setting up your yoga mat, if you have one, and your blocks. Now remember, the mat and blocks are entirely optional. You don't need them for today's practice. They're just a nice little addition, especially if you do have hard flooring. The time where I would say the yoga mat is necessary is if your chair tends to slide around on the floor. Then you really need something to keep that chair sturdy, okay? So for our centering technique today, we'll be breathing side to side, and we'll accomplish that by our alternate nostril breathing, or Nadi Sodhana in Sanskrit. And to do that breathing technique, you make a fist with your right hand, you release the thumb and the ring and pinky finger. And you're closing off alternate nostrils as you inhale and exhale, and I'll explain that technique. But that breathing side to side is like a different way to train our breathing. We don't often breathe through just one nostril at a time unless we're really congested and totally blocked off in one nostril. Also, doing that airflow from one nostril to the other actually balances the left and right hemispheres of the brain. So in terms of how much activity, how much dominance on either side, it balances it out. It also balances out the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous systems. So I've mentioned that in prior classes. Parasympathetic is our rest and digest, lower heart rate, lower breathing frequency when we're just sitting, when we're sleeping. And then sympathetic is our fight or flight, elevated heart rate, elevated blood pressure, breathing faster when we get nervous, when we get anxious, when we're exercising. That one is in more dominance. And so it just brings that into balance. So let's get started with our side to side today. And of course, we will be moving in other ways, forward and back as well. But a lot of the movements will be side to side. Okay, so for this breathing technique, before you get settled and close your eyes, again, you take that right hand, thumb, pinky and ring finger. If the ring finger it's too hard to manage keeping that unfolded, then you can totally do this one with thumb and just pinky. But you'll kind of be holding right here at the upper, like the top of the nostril. So you're not closing down way down here at the bottom. That way, those of you that are using supplemental oxygen, you can still practice this technique and go for it as long as it feels okay. So with this, we begin by closing off the left nostril. We'll inhale up through the right, close, exhale through the left, inhale again through the left, close, exhale through the right. Inhale again through the right, close, exhale through the left, inhale through the left, back and forth, back and forth. So you're basically exhaling and inhaling through the same nostril before you switch again. If that's a jumbled up mess in your brain, don't worry, I'll guide you through the first several rounds of this technique. Decide how you would like to sit today for centering. You might want to be mid-chair or into the chair if you're practicing your upright posture, engaging the core, engaging the back, working on strengthening and on mindfulness. The more you practice this position, the more naturally your body will come to this position. Anytime you're sitting, you should try to be sitting like this. And I'm serious. Think about if you're still out there driving, this tends to be the posture. When you're sitting at the table eating, this tends to be the posture. When you're sitting watching TV, this tends to be the posture. So we're often folded forward, and it becomes a almost permanent posture over time. So let's practice fighting that, resisting that flexion, that spinal flexion. And we want to keep those curves. Okay. So, but if that just is too much with also the breathing, then go ahead and scoot back and stay upright as well there. Okay. So taking that right hand, again, thumb and pinky and ring finger. You can just relax that hand down for a moment. Close your eyes. And as you take your first few deep breaths here, on your inhales, just think of that inhale lifting you up, kind of bolstering you up towards the ceiling like you could float up on that inhale. And then on your exhales, feel like you're rooting a little bit more into the feet, pressing actively down, pressing down actively into the hips. And so you have this duality happening, the rooting down and the lifting up happening at the same time. That's one of the beautiful things about a yoga practice like this, is teaching us dualities, teaching us to do more than one thing at a time energetically. Helps with our adaptability. And so just starting to settle the mind, to bring that attention inward so that this practice is a very mindful and intentional and purposeful movement of your body and your breath. And when you're ready, you can take that right hand and bring it up towards the face. And I should mention that if you have arthritis or any other issue where holding your fingers like this is just not possible, then you can always work with any variation. So you can work with like your thumb and your ring finger or pointer finger. You could even do just your pointer fingers, one on each nostril, going back and forth. So don't think that, oh, if you can't hold your hand in that way, you can't do this technique, okay? Should have mentioned that before, but better late than never. All right. So once you are ready to begin, you'll close off the left nostril in whatever way you can, inhaling through the right. Close that right nostril, open the left, and exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Closing the left now, opening the right, exhale through the right nostril. Inhale through the right. Closing off that right nostril, opening the left, exhale left. Inhale left. Exhale right. Inhale right. And keep going like that. Exhaling left. Inhaling left. Exhaling right. Inhaling right. Keep going side to side. And if you're having issues with one nostril being really clogged, you don't have to close off the opposite nostril entirely. If you're starting to have an issue with that right arm and shoulder getting tired, you can switch off hands and work with maybe the left hand, just the thumb, or, same setup, thumb and ring and pinky finger. Or again, maybe relaxing the elbows down and just working with the hands, one on either side of the nostrils. Keep practicing. Remember, the cues you might get for your body to tell you to stop are lightheadedness, dizziness, excessive yawning. I learned that one taking a pranayama 3-day workshop for getting my 500-hour yoga teacher training. And I experienced that firsthand. Take a few more rounds here. Remember, if your arms are getting tired, switch off, or maybe relax the elbows down and just use the pointer fingers. But also you can practice this technique without actually closing off the nostril. But the intention is that you're only breathing through that one nostril, whether or not it's actually happening. You still get some of that nervous system benefit. Take about 2 more rounds here. When you're ready to let go of this technique, do it on an exhale. And as you exhale, do so through both nostrils. And then just sit here still for a moment or two longer, just observing how different it feels to breathe through both nostrils again. How you might be able to tell one is dominant over the other, or that you receive more airflow through one than the other. And we'll begin to add a little movement to the practice today. First, by dropping that left ear to left shoulder, stretching the right side of the neck. You can bring that right hand down by your side and grip loosely underneath the chair. And notice how that might increase your stretch. If you'd like even more stretch, you can lean over towards that left side, away from where your hand is gripping, to increase that stretch even more. And now if it feels good to you, you're just going to send that chin towards the shoulder, just shifting the stretch in the neck. And then ear to shoulder. Chin and ear. Just going back and forth. Unless you'd rather just hold stillness in either way. And when you've had enough stretching that right side of the neck, on an inhale, lift that head back to center. Exhale, release that grip. Notice how long that side of the neck feels in comparison to the other side. And then go ahead and drop that right ear to the right shoulder. Pausing here for a breath or two before moving a little bit deeper, bringing that left hand down, gripping underneath your chair or on the chair leg. And then if you'd like to go even a little deeper, starting to lean away from that left hand. So you're leaning over towards the right. Make sure you're staying in that frontal plane, side to side. You're not moving forward into the sagittal plane or forward bending. So we're just strictly trying to side bend a little bit here. And if it feels good to you, start to shift that chin down towards the collarbone or shoulder. And then shift back to the ear. Chin and ear. Back and forth slowly. Again, only if it feels good to your neck. You might not want to do this combination of rotation and side bending in the cervical spine or the neck if you've had or currently have bulging or herniated discs in the neck. It's okay to do these movements, but you might want to avoid extremes or avoid it altogether. And when you are ready to release from this stretch, bring that ear back to shoulder and then lift that head back to center. And we'll deepen our side movement efforts by going side to side with the whole spine now. So either using your blocks here, although that might be a bit intense depending on how flexible you are. You might use the sides or legs of your chair. So we're basically going to inhale that left arm up. Exhale, reach to that right side. Inhale, lift both arms. Exhale to the left side. So hand can come to the seat of the chair, the leg of the chair, or the block when you go for that side bend. Inhaling up. Exhaling to the other side. Inhaling up, exhaling, just keep on going side to side. We'll pause here in just a moment and hold that stretch on both sides. Well, not at the same time, but so the next time you come down to that right side, we're going to hold there. And taking that elbow down, keeping the neck neutral. Inhale, reach out and up any amount further, maybe going a little deeper into your side bend. Drop that elbow down. And then reach any amount further again. And then one more time for good measure. Going maybe even a little deeper. And on an inhale, coming up. Oh, I went so deep, I lost my earpiece here. And And we're going to do that same thing to the other side. So inhaling that right arm up, exhaling, moving into your side bend to the left side. Remember, if you don't have a block, that hands may be coming, if you have this kind of little bar on your chair, seat of the chair, or gripping the leg of the chair. And from here, elbow down, reach any amount further. Really root through that right hip. Don't let that right hip lift up off the chair. Oh yeah. Let's take one more of those expansive, deepening movements. And when you're ready, an inhale carries you up. Exhale to release. All right, it's going to feel weird, but we're going to move in the frontal plane now. So bringing the palms together. If you can, interlacing the fingers and pushing the hand palms away from you. We're going to move through a variation of cat and cow. If you can't manage this with the hands, it's too challenging, you can flip them facing you. You can just have palms together, or you can just have hands apart. So lots of options based on your ability level. Either way, on your exhale, you're trying to scoop out here in the abdomen. So navel's pressing back, scooping back. If you do have the hands like I am, really press forward through those palms. Stretch that space between the shoulder blades, the back of the heart. And on an inhale, opposite movement. Belly presses forward, ribs press forward, chest presses forward. Those hands are kind of moving back behind you if you can. So exhaling and inhaling. Moving at your pace of breath here. Take a couple more rounds. One more inhale. And on your exhale, release those arms. All right, let's get those legs moving a little bit. Keeping in mind the side-to-side efforts. We're going to draw that right knee in towards the chest. Press actively down into the left foot. You might want to use your hand towel here if you have one. I didn't grab mine today. But we're going to open that knee out to the side and then bring it back to center. A little bit different than the circular motion. So we're not rotating. This might be a little easier for you to manage with one hand. And keep in mind, you can always, instead of grabbing in the front, if it feels better to grab underneath, go for it. Just trying to open out as wide as you can to that side. Staying upright and lifted. And the next time you open out, let's bring that foot down for a nice little groin and side stretch. So coming down to that elbow, or maybe hand on the thigh. Don't put it on the knee joint. Maybe hand to a block on the inside of that leg or on the outside of that leg. Lots of options here with what feels best for your body. Trying to lift that left arm up and reach it over. And again, here is so important. Your tendency is going to be to do this, to let the heart point down towards the ground. You feel as if you're side bending, because you are, but you're also twisting and moving towards that sagittal plane. We want to try to stay in the frontal plane. So really try to open that chest as if you're trying to lift it towards the ceiling. But really that's just going to correct and help you to just have the heart forward. And a little bit more here, if you can and want to, open that arm back and actually do try to rotate that heart up to the ceiling. And then come back to neutral. 2 more times. Opening up. Neutral. Last one. And on an inhale, lift it up. Go ahead and draw that knee back into the middle. Press that foot down. Just notice the difference in like my right hip and my left side feels so different than the other way around. It's amazing how much space you can create in the body. So let's create space in the opposite side. So drawing that knee to chest, pressing actively into the right foot, actively into the hips, lifting up and out of the top of the head, and just opening that leg out and bringing it back to the middle. Remember, this left hand can grab wherever it feels best for you. You can use a towel here as well underneath that knee. Just normal breathing. Try not to ever hold your breath unless there's a reason, like a breathing technique or something like that, that you're purposefully doing it. The next time you open out, hold and bring that foot down. You can always adjust here, opening out a little bit more, just trying to create about a 90-degree angle here with the thighs. And remember, dipping down, straight down to that side, like you could bring the shoulder all the way to the knee. So maybe that elbow comes down, or hand on the thigh if you can't quite reach your elbow, or hand to a block here or here. Possibly too many options. Bring that right arm up, increasing that side reach, and possibly increasing their groin stretch here too. And trying to really get that heart shining forward. Let's open out a little bit more, any amount, and then come back to the side reach. Open and reach. One more time. Open and reach. And an inhale to lift up to center, drawing that knee back to center. And let's finally move wrists and ankles in our side-to-side movements. So this one might be a little bit challenging for the brain to pick up, and also for the wrist. So what we'll be trying, and I want to show you maybe here against the black of my leg so that you can see a little better. You're trying to angle to the right and then to the left. So notice my forearm is totally still. This movement is happening at the wrist joint, and it's not a twisting. It's a side to side. Again, not common that we move our hands like this, but it's very important to keep moving our joints through all of the different ways that they can move. Otherwise, we start to lose the ability to do that altogether, and it makes everyday things like writing harder. Okay, so at the same time that we're going to do this side to side, we're going to try to do it with our ankles. So rolling onto the outer arches, and then rolling onto the inner arches as you're going in. So at least for the mental challenge here, at least we're doing the same or moving the same way with the arms and the legs. We're not trying to do the opposite. So remember, with that ankle movement, we're trying to keep the knees still. So we're not letting the knees open out and then knock in. We really want to keep them steady. So we're isolating to that ankle joint. Okay, I gotta concentrate. Gotta stop talking, y'all. So try to keep going. Even here, how's your posture? Have you started doing this? It's really easy to do. Lifting back up. Always practicing. It's like a little test. Okay, one more each way. I think I started moving my fingers more than my wrist. Okay, relax. Shake it out. Let's get to our first little sequence here. So for our vinyasa, if you're not at the edge of your chair, I should have already told you to scoot on out to the edge. But at least I didn't miss it entirely. So if you hadn't done it, go ahead and come to the edge of your chair. Square off those legs and the feet. On an inhale, lift those arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Uttanasana, forward fold. Maybe rolling out the shoulders, rolling out the head. Whatever you need to do to really try to release all the way down here. And here I'm going to strongly recommend, and I might see if we can do this without blocks. If you have blocks, you're bringing them out in front of you any amount, and you're going to walk over to one side and then the other. But if you don't have blocks, let's see if we can still manage this. Yes, we can. So maybe hands to the thighs if you can't reach the ground. And you're just reaching over to the right. So chest is still remaining facing towards the ground. You're stretching that whole left side here. Our latissimus dorsi muscle on this left side, it covers pretty much the majority. It's a superficial muscle, so on top, covers all this area my hand's touching, comes up and connects kind of underneath the armpit. You'll especially feel a little extra stretch if you might try to reach that left hand over towards the right side. And slowly coming back to center and shifting over to that other side. So again, my chest is staying facing down towards the ground. Maybe I'm bringing that right hand over towards the left. So even if I can't reach the ground, maybe I'm kind of gripping or bringing it onto the outside of the leg. Of course, if this doesn't feel good to your back for any reason, then just stay in that forward folding position. And on an exhale, releasing back to center. Hands to thighs. Start to lift and engage that back. Trying to lengthen out and flatten the back as early on as possible in your lift. And reaching those arms back. Pressing forward for your back bend. And even here, trying a little bit of our side to side. So bending that left elbow, pushing over to the left side. Bending that right elbow, pushing over to the right side. So you're still in a back bending type position. Just kind of moving side to side here. And on an exhale, release. Go ahead and lean back towards a half boat pose position, Navasana in Sanskrit. And what that looks like is keeping this relatively flat, so you're not letting yourself scoot back. You're pressing the navel forward, pressing the chest forward, keeping all this lifted and engaged so that you're protecting the back. Lift that right leg, and you're going to open it out and bring it back to center. Strengthening the hip flexors, outer thighs, inner thighs, and abdominals. If you want a little extra challenge, opposite arm and leg. Oh my goodness, I maybe shouldn't have even said anything about that. Woo! Because now I have to show it. Oh, wow. All right. 2 more. Last one. Open out. Bring that leg down. Coming into gate pose. So I'm just going to root down through the sole of that foot. Perhaps staying here if that feels pretty good. Or possibly shifting over to that right side a little bit to free up the right hip. And I'll just take a nice little side stretch here. Reaching away from that straight leg. And now I've got you exactly where I want you for the next movement. You thought this was a nice side stretch. We're going to work a little bit harder here. So again, holding on to that either leg or side of the chair. See if you can pick up that foot, bring elbow to knee, and extend it back out. Really awesome way to work the obliques, the whole side of the body, all the way down to the hip. But remember that rule, if anything hurts, don't push through pain. Now, with that being said, if it's a typical pain, so you get this kind of pain regardless of what you do when you physically move your body, then you're going to keep going. If it's a burning sensation, the muscle is really activating, you're going to keep going. If it's a sharp, shooting, pinching pain, you're going to stop. Okay? So that's just kind of a guide if you're unsure of whether you should stop or keep going. Oh, you feeling that burn yet, y'all? If not, go ahead and do 20 more of these. Everyone else, we're just going to do 3. 2 and 1. Extend it out. Go ahead and come up. All right. And let's move into goddess pose from here. So I'm going to shift my hips back to the middle, kind of keeping that right leg out to the side, opening up that left leg. Trying to get as open as I can with those knees and those feet. So really here engaging the outer thighs and glute medius and glute minimus, which are 2 of our glute muscles. We actually have 3 glute muscles on either side, maximus, medius, and minimus, or 3 parts of that muscle. Okay, and they do different things. So this will activate all those glutes. All right. So from here, once you've gotten settled, let's take those arms up. And on your exhale, elbows down, squeeze the shoulder blades together, press those shoulders down. Inhale, reach. Exhale, squeeze. Try not to let yourself back bend too much. We want to kind of stay neutral here. But we are powerfully activating along the back with this squeeze down. And actively pressing the shoulders down, we're engaging muscles called the serratus anterior, kind of running underneath the shoulder blade, and the finger-like projections move into our oblique abdominal muscles. And those suckers, those serratus anterior muscles, are super important for the stability of our shoulder blades, which might not sound like a big thing, but it really is in terms of your shoulder joint health, because that shoulder blade is part of that joint and needs to move in a healthy, functional manner. One more. Inhale up. And exhale those arms down. Go ahead and bring those feet back together. And let's try all that on the other side. We'll do something a little bit different for goddess pose on this side. So again, you might want to take your blocks, bring them to your feet for those side reaches. Or if that didn't feel good to your back, you're just going to fold forward and hang out there for a couple deep breaths. So let's inhale the arms up. Exhale, fold forward to Uttanasana, forward fold. Releasing down, maybe taking those blocks and reaching forward. And then walking over to one side. Remember, you can do this without the blocks, just like we did on that first side or that first round. If you're following along with me, you've walked either your hands or the blocks over to that left side. Really try to expand that right rib cage. Prying open those ribs, creating a little more space, a little more pliability. I forgot to mention, and go ahead and walk those hands back to center and then over to the other side. I forgot to mention that working in that frontal plane with our side-to-side movements is also so beneficial for the rib cage and the breathing. Keeping everything supple, allowing for maximum movement in the rib cage, and therefore better breathing. Breathing now into that left rib cage. Slowly coming back to center. Walking those hands in and up. So maybe using the hands on the thighs or maybe just coming all the way up. And moving in for your back bend now. So hands, trying to grow these bangs out, y'all. I think I mentioned that before. Gripping here on the back of the chair. Maybe this time opening those palms out. Moving into your back bend, couple deep breaths. And you can take that side to side lean here, stretching those biceps if you have the hands rotated out. Or you can just stay in the center. But you're kind of trying to maintain that back bend position. And on an exhale, release. Lifting up and engaging and activating in the core. Lean back, keeping that length. Straighten and lift that left leg. And you're going to open and come back to center. Out and center. Remember your option to make it more challenging. Oh, I almost forgot. No, you were so sad yelling at your TV, Aline, you forgot that side. So if you did do this on the other side, you need to try to stay balanced in terms of the strengthening for both sides. Ooh, goodness. Let's try for 3 more. 2. Last one. And bring that leg down, arm down, possibly shifting over to the left, or just stay right where you are if you feel pretty comfortable and open. And let's take our lean over. First, just kind of stretching here along that left side. Really planting down through that right hand. Let's get ready. So if you can't do knee to elbow, then you can just do elbow in. So you can just work with the arm on this. You could just work with the knee on this. Lots of options to kind of try to work towards that movement. And it's okay if you don't touch your elbow to your knee. If you can even just pick that leg up a little bit, that's a huge step, y'all. Huge step for strengthening. So you're probably feeling this kind of burning all along that whole side, especially if you're managing to do arm and leg. Try to stick with it. Try to breathe a little deeper. I always say your breathing should match the intensity of what you're feeling. So if this is really intense, you should be breathing maybe really loudly. One more. And come on up. And let's move into goddess pose. Did you see my mind blank there for a second? I almost forgot where we were going. All right, so come back to center. Open those legs out just as wide as you can. Remember, your goddess might look more like this. You might not be able to open out. That's why we're doing this, is to really get those muscles stronger, more flexible. So we're strengthening here, we're stretching here. So just walk it out just as far as you can, trying to align the knees over the heels. And this time, let's send those arms up, out and up, and exhale them down. Inhale up and exhale down. Now, if you have rotator cuff issues in the shoulder, you might just want to come up to shoulder height and then down. With that coming all the way up, that can put a little bit of strain if you have rotator cuff issues, or you might not even be able to lift the arms higher than shoulder height. So work with what you got, y'all. Still getting benefit here. Trying to lift up tall. One more time. Bringing those hands to right, not all the way to the knees, but kind of right as far down as you can. Taking a little bit of a forward lean to increase that stretch any amount. If you feel like you're going to topple out of your chair, come back up to seated. Don't want that to happen. But most of us are bottom heavy enough, hips are pretty heavy, that it kind of keeps us rooted there in that chair. And also with these hands, you're pressing back and down. And so that kind of helps anchor you. Make sure you're not doing this. So we're trying to keep the chest open, press those shoulders down. And you might want to kind of go side to side here. Or just hold it in the center. Just enjoying or trying to enjoy that stretch. When you're ready, come up and bring those legs back to center. And let's come up to standing. So maybe moving through chair pose, walking those heels in, sending those arms forward, coming up, but just to hover over the chair. Or maybe you're just slowly making your way to standing, coming back behind that chair. No lateral movements here unless you want to walk your chair side to side, which actually this is a really good exercise if you can manage it. Really getting the inner and outer thighs. Testing that balance. And when you've had enough, come on up. Exhale, relax, shake it out. Let's come to standing behind the chair. It will be nice if you have mat space behind your chair. So you might want to pick it up if you are using a mat and move it to the front. so that you have a nice wide or long area of mat. So standing first with that left side facing the chair, you'll be as far away as you can manage here. And you're just going to start to open out, maybe heel toeing, or maybe just kind of stepping a little bit wider to the widest position that you can manage. You can practice this if you're very concerned about being sideways to the chair. You can do this facing the chair, but I'll try to show you a variation. And so basically, you would be standing like so, okay? But if you can, try to stand sideways to that chair. Everyone, whether you're sideways to it or facing it, you're going to pick up those left toes and angle them over to the left side. Okay, next step. Bending into that left knee, opening that knee out. So don't let, I'm going to turn sideways so you can see this a little more clearly. The most common mistake I see in Warrior Two is this. So notice how my knee is coming in. This is putting a lot of strain on my medial ligament here. And I want to open out. That's engaging here. So I got to squeeze here to open out. Keep that joint in alignment, okay? So, Warrior Two. Let's straighten that leg. Try not to lock the knee. Hinge to the side. So again, this shoulder's coming down. I'm not trying to reach my chest down. I'm staying open. Triangle. Just for a breath or two here. We're going to move dynamically, and then we're going to hold in each position. So inhale up. Exhale, Warrior Two. Knee moves out. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, triangle. Couple more times. Warrior Two. Just for a breath or two. And triangle. Warrior Two. And triangle. And last time, Warrior Two. This time, if you want to test your balance a little bit, this is our balance practice today, is to lift that arm. So maybe it's just you lifted an inch and you came back down. That's awesome. Maybe you can hold that arm out for any amount of time. Shoulders down. Try to take one more deep breath here. Exhale, relax the arms for a moment. Straighten that left leg. Hinging over into triangle. And we'll hold here for a couple breaths. Maybe this hand to the hip. If you're able to, this hand can reach up to the ceiling or even lengthen out. And when you're ready, on an inhale, slowly start to lift up. Now, how in the world do you get out of this position? First, you're going to turn the toes back to the front. And then, again, you can call what's heel toe, or you can do what's called heel toeing, where you're turning the toes in and then the heels in. So you're just kind of walking it back in, or you can just take a big step, whatever works for you. I'm going to go ahead and turn my chair, but you'll just turn to the other side. And y'all, I just realized I forgot to show you what to do if you're facing the chair. So let me demonstrate that real fast. So if you're facing the chair, you can still do your Warrior Two and you can still do your triangle, but you just have both hands on the chair. So I'm so sorry, y'all. If you were waiting for me, and I failed you on that. So those of you who that might apply to, go ahead and do that left side. Bending, straightening, bending, straightening, bending, straightening a couple times, okay? And then you can join us on this side. So get those feet wide, maybe just a big step out or heel toeing out. Now you're turning those right toes forward. And from here, bending into that right knee, remembering you're trying to actively press that knee out to the side. Warrior two, just for a breath or two. And then straightening and hinging down. So again, it's this side bend or side reach. Chest stays open. Should feel a stretch there in the inner thigh for sure. Come back up and come back to your warrior two. Core stays engaged. Try not to turn that chest forward. Everything is in that frontal plane. Straighten and hinge. One more time, dynamically moving through these positions. And then we'll hold for a couple breaths. Okay, so let's do that warrior two balance hold first. Left arm moves out. Maybe this is all you manage, and that is totally fine. Congratulations. Maybe you managed to lift that right hand a couple times, testing that balance. Maybe you can lift that arm and hold, even if just for a few seconds. Trying to breathe here, making sure you're not lifting with the shoulders. We're lifting up from underneath the shoulders. All of this, the legs, the core, that's what's lifting us up, not trying to lift from the top down. All right. When you're ready, relax the arms for a moment. Straighten that right leg. Make sure you don't lock it. So notice how straight versus locked, okay? It's a slight bend. Start to hinge over. Maybe that forearm comes to the top of your chair. If you'd like to, sending that left arm up or reaching it out even. For triangle or Trikonasana in Sanskrit, which is the language of yoga, Indian. And the majority, I believe, of our ancient yogic texts are written in Sanskrit. The different yoga asanas, our postures, are written in Sanskrit. Slowly come up when you're ready. Coming out of this carefully, first turning those toes forward. So now your hips are facing forward, and you can just kind of take a couple steps in, or you can work with that heel toeing motion. Okay, just quick time check here. All right. Let's come back down to the seat. Well, actually, let's do one last cool down stretch. Our standing banana pose. This is like my new favorite thing in the world. So you're standing as far away from the chair as you feel comfortable, leaning over to the side. You know, if you've had enough of our side bending movements, although this is a lovely stretch for the entire side of the body, then I would recommend instead coming down to your chair and doing your seated pigeon pose. In fact, go ahead and decide now. Do you want to do your standing banana side to side stretch, or would you rather work on the hips a little bit more and do your seated pigeon, either ankle over thigh or ankle over ankle? Up to you. You know where I'm going. So just another breath on that original side. Go ahead and whether you're doing the standing banana pose or pigeon, go ahead and start to switch sides. So for banana, you're just turning the other way. Remember, you're pressing that hip away from the chair, reaching over towards the chair. Or if you're in pigeon, you're crossing the other leg, ankle over thigh or ankle over ankle. Just a couple more breaths wherever you've decided to go. Slowly start to come out of your stretch. Take any final stretches or postures that you would like to. And those of you that aren't watching on the TV, you can do a whole nother sequence and pause it if you would like to, or do any other stretches. Like that standing downward dog would be a great one. But if you are ready to relax, let's do it. So go lay in your armchair, lay on your couch, come down to the ground. I haven't shown y'all that in a while, so I'll show it real quickly. Or just lean back in your chair and get comfortable. So if you're coming to the ground and you need assistance, you can use this chair to get yourself down. Usually folks like to come down to the knees and then to the hips. And you're going to want to scoot your butt over to the leg of your chair and come down onto your side. And if those hips are almost touching the chair, then you should be in a good position. Once you do, flop over towards your back. And then you're just, oh, cool, right there, all set. Legs in the chair. If you have a bun or a ponytail or anything like I have kind of sticking into the back of your head, I really recommend taking it out so that you can fully relax here. Legs in the chair is wonderful for your circulation, for your circulatory system, that blood flow. It's great to help relax the back, the low back, if you have back problems, spinal stenosis, degenerative discs, any issues with your back or just general back pain. This is a wonderful posture to take. So wherever you end up, try to relax as much as you can. Maybe scanning the body, starting at the crown of the head, feeling as if this warm, glowing, relaxing wave is washing down. And as it trickles down the face, across the eyebrows, the cheeks, it relaxes everything that it touches. And so just imagine this warm flow moving down now to the neck, the shoulders, as you feel all those muscles just let go of their tension. Washing across the shoulders, down the chest, the arms, the back. Your body becomes heavier as this wave of warmth moves down the abdomen, the back, to those hips and glutes, down the thighs, fronts, backs, and sides, down the knees, the shins, the calves. And that warm relaxation just washes down the ankles, the feet, until you're fully relaxed, heavy, warm, and glowing. Just as the body releases, now let the breathing release. Let the mind release. Just being fully present and in tune with this moment, with each breath. You may choose to stay in Shavasana, corpse pose, a little longer. But if you're ready to come out of it, do so by starting to deepen your breathing, to draw it deeper into the body, to feel a little more movement as you do that. The rib cage moves a little more, the chest. Feeling as if you're breathing that movement down to the toes and the fingers, ankles and wrists. And perhaps taking a nice long stretch with that body. Slowly making your way to a seated position or just staying right where you are, reclined on your back. And just to show you how to come up from this position, you'll draw the knees in any amount towards the chest, rolling over to one side. And using your hands and maybe this kind of straightening out of that top leg at the same time, pressing up to a seated position. And again, depending on you may come to those knees, use that chair to bring yourself back up. And wherever you are, just drawing the palms together in front of the heart. Thank you so much for joining me today for this practice. And this love, beauty, energy that is within me recognizes that in you. Namaste. And that's all namaste means. It's just a sign of respect, of salutation for this yoga practice. So thank you again, guys. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. You can get my contact info on the hub or by calling the front desk. I hope you have an awesome day. I hope your body feels good and open and spacious and used to that side-to-side movement again. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.